The Adams Archive.
Disgraced former CNN producer sentenced to 19 years in prison for child sex crimes. Now, I don't know about you, but I am not surprised. All right, so let's go ahead and see what this article has to say. It says, former CNN producer John Griffin has been sentenced to 19 years in prison on Tuesday for committing child sex crimes in Vermont. John Griffin, 45, confessed to coercing a woman online to bringing her 9-year-old daughter to Ludlow, Vermont, for illicit acts. Wow, that's horrible. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Vermont charged Griffin with 3 counts of using a facility of interstate commerce to attempt to entice minors to engage in unlawful activity in 2021. However, Griffin entered into a plea agreement in December, and the government dropped 2 additional charges for enticing a minor after he confessed his crimes. Now, one thing to mention in a segue with that other portion of this is that BlackRock owns CNN and hired this man. A criminal, and also they own Target and every other one that's pushing, all of the pride materials and drag shows for children within their brands. A criminal complaint filed by the state of Nevada against a mother accused of pimping her 9-year-old daughter out to CNN's John Griffin revealed that authorities arrested the mother in August 2020 and seized Griffin's devices the following month. This means that law enforcement allegedly knew about Griffin's abuse for more than a year before arresting him. Court records reveal that Griffin paid the mother to fly with the girl from Nevada to Boston, where the girl said Griffin assaulted her. According to court documents, federal investigators seized computer storage media, devices, phones, cameras, micro SD cards, images, and video from Griffin on September 2nd. The indictment alleged that Griffin lured a mother and her underage daughter to his home for the purposes of abuse in July 2020. Man, I can't even read this whole thing. Jeez. All right. So, no surprises there that somebody from CNN, nonetheless, the one pushing pride, the one pushing the trans agenda, pushing sex changes in children, all of that is somehow or another intertwined into some shape or form of actively sexually assaulting minors. And what we find out, too, as we go a little deeper into this ocean of information, is that the convicted CNN producer and former CNN's president's wife was connected to Epstein. So the same man that was the producer for CNN, who got 19 years in prison, just sentenced to him for sex crimes against children's wife, was friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. And now you start to see where all these little spider webs come together. Now there's a picture here that was posted by an anonymous source on Twitter, but it has photos, and it says, "We found photos of Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's co-conspirator, socializing with Jeff Zucker's wife, Karen Zucker. For context, Jeff Zucker is the current president of CNN." Now, this man doesn't seem to have been trafficking this child this same way. So he was involved in the same trafficking ring. And you wonder why CNN was not covering Epstein's trial or his murder properly. It's because the producer's wife was best friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. And now he's finally being convicted on separate charges. But if they would just open the book and let us know who was actually a part of the sex trafficking ring of Epstein, maybe this would have happened. We would have found this out prior to this child getting assaulted. Maybe we would have found this out prior to all of the assaults that have happened since then. And they still won't release the documents. They still won't go after the Johns. They still won't go after the people that were in Epstein's book. They still will not release the flight logs so that you can actually find it out. And they still won't go after them legally. Why? Especially when almost in every account of Epstein, people talk about him having videotapes and videos to blackmail these people. Now, what we come to find out later, as so many people have talked about prior, is that it's very likely that Epstein was an asset of 3-letter agencies somewhere in the world, could even be the United States, Some people seem to believe it was Mossad. Some people seem to believe that he was a part of several. But the idea here is that Epstein was leveraging children and these type of sexual acts with all of the people that he's flown out to that island, including Bill Gates, whose wife left him for being associated with Jeffrey Epstein the way that he was, including Stephen Hawking, including Alec Baldwin, including Clinton, including almost every single person we know now to be true that has been convicted within Hollywood for assault on children or child pornography. How many of these assaults, how many of these children would have been saved from these acts if our institution, our government, these three-letter agencies did their job and actually went after this list of people that they so clearly know were a part of this? And why would you not do that? Unless you were in some way, shape, or form involved, right? And this kind of goes back to the John F. Kennedy assassination. Now, I'm not saying for certain that the CIA was the ones who decided to pull the trigger on this. Now, it's very compelling that they might have been the ones to decide that. But what we do know 100% is that they at least covered some of their tracks. We do know that they dropped the magic bullet into the gurney. We do know that they placed people in positions to be able to cover up the tracks by having them go out with the coroners and have the autopsy done by somebody who was in their pocket. So whether he was a controlled asset of these three-letter agencies or whether they were just covering their tracks because they were somehow associated in the spider web of horrificness that was happening here, that's yet to be told. But what we do know is there is some association with some type of entity because they knew this about Jeffrey Epstein for the longest time. And how many children continued to be horrifically assaulted? How many child's lives were ruined? How many children were flown to an island while the CIA, the FBI, and all of these other organizations knew everything about it?